Marcus Freeman walked under the college game day set in Miami with the same calm confidence that has come to define him on Notre Dame's sideline, and by the time the night was over, it was clear that the Irish head coach belonged just as comfortably under the bright lights of television as he does under the glare of a packed stadium on Saturdays. The national championship game itself delivered drama as Indiana held off Miami 27-21 on the Hurricanes' home field to cap a season few could have predicted. But long before the final whistle, Freeman had already made his own quiet statement. In a space crowded with big personalities, legendary resumes, and decades of broadcasting experience, the 40-year-old coach didn't just survive his college game day assignment, he thrived, displaying a natural ease, polish, and authenticity that resonated instantly with viewers and set social media buzzing about a possible future behind the desk, even if such a future remains far off for a man deeply entrenched in the coaching profession and under contract with Notre Dame through 2031. Freeman's presence on the set never felt forced or performative. He didn't try to outshine anyone or manufacture viral moments. Instead, he leaned into what he knows best: football, relationships, and perspective. That approach allowed him to blend seamlessly alongside Rhys Davis, Desmond Howard, Kirk Herbstreit, and Nick Saban, a Mount Rushmore of college football voices spanning generations. For a coach still early in his head coaching journey, sharing space with figures of that stature can be intimidating, but Freeman carried himself with the poise of someone who understood exactly who he is and why he was there. His answers were thoughtful without being long-winded, insightful without being condescending, and candid without drifting into controversy. In an era where coaches are often guarded to the point of sterility, Freeman managed to sound human. That humanity came through most clearly when Pat McAfee, never one to resist the temptation of chaos, tried to lure Freeman into speculating about a hypothetical fight between himself and Miami head coach Mario Cristobal. The setup was awkward by design, a moment engineered for laughs and potential awkwardness, and Freeman diffused it instantly. With a grin and perfect timing, he referenced his recent 40th birthday and declared himself retired from such activities, a self-aware quip that drew laughter without feeding the bit any further. It was a small moment, but an instructive one. Freeman showed he could play along without losing control of the narrative, a skill that separates good television guests from uncomfortable ones. While humor helped endear him to the audience, it was Freeman's football mind that anchored his appearance. Throughout the broadcast, he demonstrated an ability to break down the game in a way that felt both accessible to casual fans and respectful of the sport's complexity. One of the night's most compelling moments came when he highlighted Indiana center Pat Coogan, a former Notre Dame starter who transferred to Bloomington after last season's national championship loss. Rather than gloss over the storyline, Freeman leaned into it, offering a detailed, coach's eye explanation of why Coogan mattered so much to Indiana's offensive success. He spoke about pulling into space, finding defenders, maintaining balance, and finishing blocks, emphasizing how difficult those tasks are and why Coogan's athleticism made him such a difference maker. It wasn't analysis designed to impress, it was analysis designed to inform, the kind that reminds viewers why coaches see the game differently. Freeman's praise of Coogan also reflected something deeper about his leadership style. There was no bitterness, no subtle jab about a player who left the program. Instead, there was pride. Freeman spoke about Coogan the way a teacher speaks about a former student who has gone on to succeed elsewhere, and that tone did not go unnoticed. In a sport increasingly defined by transfers, NIL deals, and transactional relationships, Freeman's words carried a sense of continuity and respect that felt refreshing. It reinforced the idea that for all the upheaval in college football, relationships still matter. As the broadcast unfolded, Freeman largely avoided headline-grabbing declarations, sticking instead to coaching principles and measured reflections. Yet even within that restraint, his presence sparked moments of genuine connection. Nick Saban, now transitioning into his own post-coaching media chapter, revisited his earlier comment that Miami had kicked Notre Dame's A in a 27-24 season-opening thriller, and then turned to Freeman with reassurance, saying he believed the Irish belonged in the 12-team playoff field. Coming from Saban, whose words still carry enormous weight, it was a meaningful endorsement, and Freeman received it with humility rather than defensiveness. Kirk Herbstreit, who had been one of Notre Dame's more persistent skeptics throughout the season, provided another memorable moment. As Freeman reiterated his mantra of leave no doubt for the 2026 season, Herbstreit made a point of standing up, walking across the set, and shaking Freeman's hand. The gesture was performative, yes, but also symbolic, a public acknowledgement of respect between two figures who have often found themselves on opposite sides of the playoff debate. Freeman didn't bask in it or push back, he simply accepted it, reinforcing the impression of a coach comfortable enough in his own skin to let others have their moments. The question of picking a winner in the national championship game posed its own challenge. Saban explained how during his coaching days he avoided making such predictions entirely, aware that words spoken casually on television can linger in locker rooms and recruiting pitches for years. Freeman chose a different path, navigating the minefield with care. His explanation balanced honesty with diplomacy, revealing his thought process without providing anyone with unnecessary motivation. It was another example of his instinctive understanding of optics, a trait that serves coaches well both on television and on the recruiting trail. What stood out most across the night was how natural Freeman looked doing all of it. There was no visible tension, no sense that he was counting the seconds until he could escape the spotlight. Instead, he appeared genuinely engaged, listening as much as he spoke, reacting in real time to jokes and analysis, and contributing without forcing himself into the conversation. That ease did not go unnoticed by viewers, many of whom took to social media to speculate about Freeman's potential as a broadcaster once his coaching days are over. It is easy to imagine networks salivating at the prospect of adding a figure who combines credibility, relatability, and screen presence. Still, any talk of a broadcasting future remains hypothetical. Freeman is very much a coach in his prime, a football lifer whose focus remains squarely on Notre Dame and the pursuit of championships. Just a year removed from leading the Irish to a college football playoff title game appearance against Ohio State, he is still writing the central chapters of his coaching story. The TV cameo was not a pivot, it was a glimpse. A reminder that the modern head coach must be more than a tactician, more than a recruiter. He must be a communicator, a representative of the program, and a public figure capable of navigating an ever-expanding media landscape. In that sense, Freeman's college game day appearance felt almost inevitable. Notre Dame has always occupied a unique place in college football's media ecosystem, and its head coach inevitably becomes part ambassador, part spokesman. Freeman embraced that responsibility without losing authenticity, and in doing so, he reinforced why he has become such a compelling figure in the sport. He's comfortable talking about doubt and disappointment, about lessons learned and standards still unmet. He doesn't shy away from accountability, and he doesn't inflate accomplishments beyond what they are. As Indiana celebrated its championship and Miami processed another near miss, Freeman's night ended without a trophy or a sideline headset, yet it still felt like a win. He showed a national audience that his leadership extends beyond the locker room, that his understanding of the game translates seamlessly to explanation, and that his personality, understated it may be, carries weight. Whether he ever chooses to pursue a career in television is a question for another decade, but for one January night in Miami, Marcus Freeman proved something important. When the spotlight finds him, he doesn't flinch. He settles in, speaks with clarity, and lets substance do the work.